Hey, Chicago, what do you say? It's the CHGO Cubs Podcast. Cubs win. 7-6 over the Nationals at Wrigley Field. We just finished roughly 3 hours of live podcasting here on the YouTube channel.
We've literally been just talking for 3 hours.
Forever.
About to be 4 hours after the end of this. Is this a Sunnyside Summer Thursday?
Sunnyside Summer Thursday coming at you. On a Sunnyside Summer Thursday. We just want to say hi to everybody. Thanks to everybody that was here on the live YouTube chat.
Mm-hmm. Shout out to Danny Rocket for hopping on from outside Wrigley Field. Shout out to Jake Banowski.
Yep.
For coming on and talking some Kerry Woods stuff related to him and his family. Corey came on. So if you're a big Corey fan, I know a lot of the Sunday listeners love Corey and Brendan. You can go check out that he was on with us for like the last 5 innings or last 4 innings.
And Joey, our guy Joey.
And Joey from the All Big Ten podcast. So, we had some guests on. Ryan joined us for like a half inning. We couldn't understand what he was saying, but yeah, he was here. But he'll join us from the ballpark later tonight too.
Hopefully with better sound. Sunnyside Summer Thursday. Make sure you visit sunnyside.shop for bright buys every day, including 50% off your first 3 online purchases. Enter the promo code HICHGO at checkout to qualify. Exclusions apply. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary. Bright buys every day, only for 21 and older or Illinois medical card holders. We've been hanging out. The watch-alongs have been fun this year. Do we sit and watch every play and break down every play? No, we get up. Becky was here.
Becky was here the entire time.
She wanted to know how the pizza was. The pizza was good. Becky was with us for 3 hours.
Salerno. Shout out to Salerno's.
We talk about all kinds of stuff. It's just like if we were sitting at Murphy's with you watching the game on the screen while just hanging out. Is the whole game play by play? No.
Yeah.
But we had fun, and thanks to everybody that stuck with us or just jumped in and out. You don't have to stay for the whole time.
I'm going to emphasize this I'll probably emphasize it at least another time throughout at some point in the show. But like, if you weren't able to come watch the watch along, like we watched the game, but it wasn't like play by play. So there was a lot of conversation related to the future of the Cubs and prospects and who to blame and this and that. And there's 3 hours of it. So if you need some therapy in some aspects for more than just an hour tonight, even though the Cubs won, we know that the season's over. Carrie, I see your comment. I feel you. Like me and Luke, we asked people to come on the watch along because we know that most people just don't really care what's actually happening in the game on a play-by-play standpoint because the season's over basically. But we had a lot of good conversations. I think that was the point of it, and we had a lot of fun. Shout out to Blue Moon for allowing us to do that.
Yes. Edward, thank you for the shout out to everybody who participated in the watch along. By the way, we'll continue to do them next season. I think that is our last watch along this year. Yeah. Of course, there won't be a postseason. But we do have a Friday 120 Club coming up tomorrow. There's 2 of those left, including tomorrow's game.
Yes.
Weather's going to be great again.
We'll be at Murphy's 10 a.m. tomorrow with my guy Patrick Norton, I believe. And, we'll be out in left field bleachers tomorrow and trying to enjoy what's left of Wrigley Field because as much as I'm ready for the season to be over, you get to like December, January, and I live like a mile and a half north of Wrigley, so I go through Wrigleyville a lot, and you see Wrigley Field in the dead of winter, and you're like, man, I'm ready for baseball season. So, I will, take as many games as I can to get through the rest of the season as I can.
I am curious what your sign will be tomorrow.
So unfortunately, There's no new sign tomorrow. I was thinking about
it's just going to be the Friday 120 Club
Yeah,
sign.
and I was thinking about taking back the We Want Soto sign. Just to emphasize.
Yeah, but then people are going to be like, he doesn't know. Soto's on the wrong team. So this game, what we did watch of it, because, again, what did they enter with? A 0.1% chance of making the postseason. The Brewers have already clinched the division.
Yeah.
We've been angry about that. You got Brewers fans all angry with saying you were going to hate watch the Brewers in the postseason. You said that on social media. You got a lot of mean comments back.
Someone just told you
somebody just gave me the bird for, I don't know why, but somebody gave me the bird. Whatever, I don't know. Okay.
Well, we got a lot of reactions to our rants that we had yesterday.
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah. And
I don't see who that would make angry.
Opposing fans who hate the Cubs.
But I didn't say anything bad about their teams, right?
Yeah, but they just people are mad.
Listen, I know there's a lot of angry people.
There are
a lot of we're two of them, but there's a lot of angry people out there.
Yeah.
Javier Assad. So 5 innings, 3 runs, right? Do you see him? What's the perfect role for him next year? The perfect role going into this year was swing guy. Maybe it's still that, but if you had to choose starter or strictly bullpen, which would it be? Because I think the perfect role might be that swing guy.
Yeah, I still think it's more of a swing guy at most if you want the guy to get some starts, and he's earned the right to get some starts. However, I did read an article in The Athletic, I want to say it was from Patrick Mooney, within the last couple of weeks, where there were quotes from Craig Counsell, and they're really talking high on Javier Assad and being a starter. So I'll say this. Tonight, struggled early, still managed to go 5. I'll give him credit because I will say from April through May and maybe a little bit of June, he was awesome.
He was an ERA leader in baseball. He was on the top 5.
He made the loss of Justin Steele in April not necessarily feel like a big cut to you, right? My biggest concern with Assad, though, is that sometimes his command is not great, and so that leads to walks, and so he just can't consistently go deeper into games. He's a consistent 4 to 5 inning guy. There's not very many starts in that game log this year where he's given up more than 3 runs. There's not a lot. Now, from like that midpoint of June through July, I think August is when he started to, mid-August is when he started to, be a lot more like what he was tonight in terms of just fine. I think that, again, as his best role, I think, is as a swingman, a guy who can do some stuff for you in the bullpen. But because of injuries and whatnot, that is why he's been a starter all season. To me, he shouldn't be locked in as a rotational piece next year unless the Cubs don't add pitching, which would be a big mistake for this team to hope that things this year just transition over next year too. I think they're going to need to get a starter. But to answer your long-winded question, I just think the swingman role is his best role. When this team is healthy, you got Cade Horton hopefully debuting next year. Ben Brown's going to be back. Still high on Jordan Wicks. So if he's locked in as your rotation on opening day, I personally would think a lot of things went wrong. If you're asking me that right now for 2025.
Maybe not. I could see him be pretty excited about him as a 5th starter if the first 4 were really, really good, right? If it was Steele, Shota, Tyone, Corbin Burns, and Assad, okay. But I do think he's very usable in the other. We saw him at the World Baseball Classic. We've seen him as a bullpen guy. I do think one thing's become interesting in baseball with relievers getting so much more run in a game. The 5-inning thing doesn't bother me as much as it used to. If the Cubs can build their bullpen into being a weapon for a full season and have not just the group of guys that you start the season with, because if you're going to count on a bullpen that much throughout the season to be that good, you better have reserves and lots of reserves. I don't know. I don't hate it, but I in a perfect world, I do think he could really be a weapon in the bullpen. Number one, he's different than some of the guys they have in there. Like if Ben Brown's going to be in the bullpen, he's different than Ben Brown. He's definitely different than Little. He's definitely different than Porter Hodge. If Merriweather's here, like, okay, like all those guys, we're starting to see that now the next wave of the bullpen will be guys that can throw some heat, right?
Yeah.
And Assad's more of a craftsman than that. So I think he'd be great in the bullpen. I just know that Javier Assad is the least of your worries going into the offseason or into next year. No matter where you put him, I think he's going to be successful for the team.
Yeah, I think that's the bottom line, is that the team is better with Javier Assad on the team. I think that's point blank, period. The team is better with him out there, because this team would be a hell of a lot worse without him this year. And they're, where they're at now.
Now, if a team also came to me and said, we want one of your really good prospects for whatever this thumper might be in the lineup, yada, yada, whoever we keep looking for. If the return were correct, if somebody said to me, but we also want Assad thrown into the deal, I wouldn't blink over that either. I'm not saying that he's not good. I'm just telling you, if you're trying to get a key name back, you're going to have to give up some things you like. And people don't want to hear the name Nico Hoerner. People don't want to hear Javier Assad. People don't want to hear...
I think more people are
prospects. They don't want to hear Owen Casey. But eventually you got to hear some names.
Right. I think more people would be more fine to trade Javier Assad than Nico Hoerner or any of the top 100 prospects in the system. I think people would be more on board of trading a guy like Assad.
Well, of course they would, but I don't think he would go as the centerpiece. I think that would be a team trying to sweeten the deal really in their favor. Mm-hmm. You'd have to look at it and say, can we afford to move somebody like that? We'll see if that comes up, but it'll be interesting. I think he's a really good player. He's been a good find for them, and it's worked. Porter Hodge gets the save in this game. Was it perfect? No, he gave the double, and the tying run got to third base. Mm-hmm. But we talked about it quite a bit in the watch along. I don't know if you want to go into the season next year with Hodge automatically as your closer. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean I don't think he should get the opportunity. But would I feel better if you started the season with him competing or alternating with somebody that was a step above Hector Neris? At least Hector Neris's resume coming in, right? I expected Hector Neris to be better than he was this year. He wasn't.
Yeah.
But a similar type move, a better move. You can let Hodge be your closer, but then you're also, don't forget, assuming PCA is going to do the same thing in center and Bush is going to do the same thing at first. And maybe you're thinking Paredes is going to be the all-star at third. And
I think with
too many what ifs.
Just to play devil's advocate for the what if crowd or the what if scenarios, like, you feel pretty good about PCA starting center fielder opening day next year, though, don't you?
I do.
And I don't necessarily think that's a what if. I think that's
I feel good about each of those individual what ifs I just said. Mm-hmm. But I also feel that the chance of one of those what ifs that we just talked about on the Wheel of Fun,
sure,
one or more of those not happening next year, is also pretty good.
Yeah, I mean these are fair. These are fair concerns. Maybe I'm too high on PCA. I'm known to be too high on guys. I was way too high on Christopher Morel, for example.
Who's the most likely to have of that Wheel of Fun, right? Well,
think about it, chat.
Think about it, chat. Which one of those is the most likely to be super successful next year? Is it PCA? Is it Bush redoing what he did, maybe taking a step? Is it Porter Hodge taking a step? We'll talk about all that in just a bit, and we've got more coming. We're going to talk about Shohei Ohtani first, but things are changing, folks. beginning October 1st, the Blackhawks, Bulls, and White Sox will have a new home. Introducing the Chicago Sports Network, CHSN. CHSN will broadcast more than 300 live games per year across the Blackhawks, Bulls, and White Sox, and will feature a full lineup of original Chicago-focused sports content. They're also Chicago-based, right in the United Center, Chicago-built, and Chicago to the core. And they're bringing it to every corner of Chicago across 77 neighborhoods and beyond. At CHSN, Chicago comes first. Visit CHSN.com for more information on how to watch the Bulls, Hawks, and White Sox all season long.
And more importantly, the Bulls and the Blackhawks.
Yes.
You go watch them on CHSN and then come watch us do postgame.
That's what's replacing NBC Sports Chicago.
Yes.
If you're confused at all. NBC Sports Chicago ends last day of September, October 1st. That's the new place.
Right, exactly. You can, while you're watching those teams this fall, this winter, whatever you call it, sometimes it's background noise for a lot of people. So while you have those games on in the background, why not think about fixing your floor? You know what I mean? With Empire Today, you get shop-at-home convenience, a right product for your needs, quick and professional installation, and a low price guaranteed. Empire Today is the best place to get new flooring, so of course they have copycats, but Empire can't be beaten on quality, service, speed, so competitors advertise low-quality products that Empire simply won't carry. Empire won't promise the lowest prices because anyone who does that is putting flooring in your home that they wouldn't put in theirs. They keep shopping for floors simple with a curated product selection. Their philosophy is to help you find what you need, not overwhelm you with thousands of choices and substitutes. What they leave out of their selection is as important as what they put in. Empire's product team exhaustively combs through thousands of product samples each year to find the perfect styles. Their virtual floor designer is a great way to see how new floors will look in any space. It's easy. Just snap a picture and instantly see how new floors will look in your room. Shopping for floors at a big box store can be frustrating. You might talk to someone today who was working in plumbing yesterday. Flooring is all Empire Today does. They live and breathe flooring, so you can be confident you're getting honest, upfront advice. They pride themselves on their convenient shop-at-home service. They help customers shop for floors where they use their floors so they can see exactly what their new floors will look like in their homes, lighting and decor, so they can make any informed decision. Service our own warranties. If an issue does arise, just call Empire. They service all warranties themselves. You won't have to track down a manufacturer's phone number. So schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners can receive a $350 off discount when they use promo code CHGO. Restrictions apply. See Empire Today at empiretoday.com/CHGO for details.
Michael Thiel in the live YouTube chat, which is the best way to enjoy the CHGO experience, says PCA will have a 15-plus outs above average as a full season, has the ability to hit 15, maybe 20-plus home runs, steal 50-plus bases. If he has a batting average of 240, he's a 5-WAR player. He's going to be a top 50 player with all of that. So that was the question we were asking before we hit our sponsors was,
I like that. I like
of the wheel of show me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or prove it or whatever, which one do you have the most confidence in happening? Is it PCA turning into this star player next year? Is it Michael Busch recreating what he did and maybe more? Is it Porter Hodge becoming the closer? Is it Paredes will turn back into an all-star that he was in Tampa? Which of those things? A lot of people are starting to get back on the PCA hype train. Some people jumped off the hype train. Now people are getting back on the PCA hype train. Now, he did strike out a few times. He didn't have the greatest game tonight. I will say 50-plus stolen bases next year, I think that's low. And he did say 50-plus.
Mm-hmm.
But if Ohtani can steal 51 bases, PCA can steal way more than 51. He's got to get on base, but he can.
If he has a batting average higher than 240, like for the last month and a half, he's been hitting over 300. So I won't even say 300. If he hits 270, 280, he will likely have way more than 50 stolen bases, because even if he's just a singles hitter who occasionally can hit a homer and be a guy who hits 15 to 20, I mean, the amount of singles the guy might hit might lead to more stolen bases too. So, but I think he has some like low key power. I mean, we've seen it be on display.
He's got 10
half.
right now.
Yeah. For as bad as he was in May and June offensively, to see he has 10 homers now, I think that's impressive. So,
and not starting the season with the team.
Yeah, and not starting the season with the team. So, again, to go with that, I like Hodge, but I just haven't seen enough to say that you can go into next season for him to be the closer. I think he can be a 7th, 8th inning guy. I think you're really good with him there, but
he can be in a battle for it.
Yeah, or he can be in the battle for it. But it's depending on who else he is in the battle for that closer position. He can't just be the automatic closer for next year. If you're bringing back Jorge Lopez, which I wouldn't mind if they did, like he's also another guy that I feel like can be in battle for a closer role. He has been a closer before with the Orioles. Was an all-star. You know, Tyson Miller, no closer.
Not a closer.
I think he's great in his
Luke
middle
Little
relief
if he's
role.
healthy.
Luke Little if he's healthy, I like it. He's going to need to – I think he'll need to grow into it because the injury really hurt. It stopped his development. But before the injury, he was starting to really put himself in that circle of trust with Craig Counsell. But the reason that I like it as a possibility is because he's a left-handed pitcher who throws hard. You name another pitcher outside of him to be able to do that with the Cubs in the last 10 years, and the only name you can come up with is Aroldis Chapman. I think
it's Hodge or somebody not yet in the franchise.
Yeah,
that's what I would think.
Yeah, no,
and don't get me wrong, I wouldn't mind it being closer by committee with Hodge and a player that has not been added yet. Like whatever. Hodge is a key piece of the bullpen next year.
There's no doubt that they need to go get a proven veteran reliever that can absolutely be in that running for the closer role.
Craig Kimbrell.
Yeah, not Craig Kimbrell.
Hey, Seiya Suzuki provided the power for tonight's game, presented by the Illinois pork producers. Savor the flavor, savor the gains, and celebrate any occasion by enjoying the best pork produced by Illinois' pig farmers. 21 home runs on the season. But did you see what Shohei Ohtani did? Did you see? We spent a lot of time on the live watch party talking about this. Yeah. And for those of you that were there, I'm sorry you're going to hear it again because it's one of the most amazing things.
One of the more impressive stat lines, for sure.
I just said we talk about the Sandberg game, and as great as it was one of the favorite sports moments of my childhood. When you look at, I'm just going to do it again. I'm going to read the same AP article, just a couple paragraphs of what the Associated Press wrote about Shohei Ohtani.
This will be a moment that we can clip, Sarah.
Shohei Ohtani became the first player in Major League history to hit 50 home runs and steal 50 bases in a single season when he homered 3 times and stole 2 bases to lead the Dodgers to a playoff-clinching 20-4 rout. Pretty good timing. Ohtani also became the first player with 3 home runs and 2 steals in a game, ever. He also doubled twice and had a career-best 6 hits to set the Dodgers record all-time with 10 RBI in one game, and his 51 homers this season broke the franchise record of 49 set in 2001 by Shawn Green. I mean, where was the other part? He was mobbed by his Dodger teammates in the dugout. The crowd continued cheering. Ohtani emerged from the dugout for a curtain call in the 9th. He hit his 3rd home run, a 440-foot 3-run blast that highlighted a 6-run inning. His historic day almost included a cycle, but he was thrown out at 3rd attempting to stretch a double. The Dodgers clinched a playoff berth for the 12th straight year.
12 straight years making the playoffs. Oh, man.
Listen, there is no price tag. Whether I understand he wanted to play for the Dodgers. There's no price tag that's too high on that. The Cubs only, quote unquote, kicked the tires on that. They reached out to find out, and he was probably like, nah, I'm deferring 10 years worth of deal, and I'm going to go to the Dodgers. And then the response should have been, take that same deal and we'll give you $100 million more. Because he's already paying for it, man. That he's in the list of great Dodgers. Great. He might be the most likely. It's probably Babe Ruth and Ohtani. He's not even pitching this year. He just had one of the most historic games in the history of baseball, shattered Dodgers records, and he's doing it after Tommy John surgery. He's not even pitching yet.
And became the first 50-50 player.
50-50. And by the way, next year he might be a top 10 pitcher in baseball.
Yeah.
To go with it. So all those people that were like, well, that deal's not worth it because he ain't going to be able to pitch very long anyways. He's just going to be a hitter or a DH. Okay. That's what he just did this year. And it's historic.
Yeah. Imagine if he
don't make the same mistake with Soto.
If he had pitched this year, say he put up similar pitching numbers this year as he did, the last year he won the MVP award, which was, did he win MVP for the American League last year?
He's the greatest player we've ever seen.
In
my lifetime, and there's nobody even close.
He'd easily be like a 12-WAR player if he had been able to pitch this year. Like a 11 or 12 WAR, I feel like somewhere in that range.
51.
It would have been funny to watch him win MVP over Judge if he was still in the American League, if he had been able to pitch this year, just because Judge has been so great. But that value that Ohtani brings is just insane. Yeah. The point is, don't do the same with Juan Soto.
Yeah,
right?
Juan Soto might be a step down from Ohtani. But man, he'd look pretty good in a Cubs uniform.
Yeah. Man.
But every time Michael says, hey, man, we're watching greatness with Ohtani. Don't be a hater. You're living in a time of arguably the best baseball player ever.
I don't think anyone here is hating, brother.
I'm not hating on Ohtani.
No one's hating.
I'm jealous.
Jealous, yeah.
I'm straight jealous because what that guy would be in a Cubs uniform is just what I said Judge would have been when he was hitting 60 bombs and you were like, oh, man. Those guys would be put on such a pedestal in this city.
Sure. Yeah.
We're craving that player on one of our teams. It might be Bedard. I hope it's Bedard. But
I hope it's Caleb Williams.
We had Michael Jordan. We're just waiting to put somebody on a pedestal. I hope it's Caleb Williams too. And if it's Caleb Williams, then I'll feel less bad about not having Ohtani.
It would be nice for the team that we cover.
Judge,
it would be on our team too.
Harper.
Yeah.
Oh, Thiel's Michael says he's talking to the Ohtani haters. I don't know why. I don't hate on the guy.
No. Well, he's saying not saying CHGO is one of them.
Oh, gotcha. So thank you.
I appreciate that. Which I don't think we
credit to us for not being haters.
I think we were honestly. This is just another like if you watched yesterday or listened yesterday, you would know that me and Luke both went on like multiple rants. Calling out this organization, as in the Chicago Cubs. And today they won, so, we won't be as negative today. But we all know this team needs a star, and it's like the Cubs are nowhere near the rumors for Juan Soto. I know the season's still going, and there probably will be some sort of article or rumor that comes out in the offseason, like putting the Cubs with Juan Soto. But I don't think anyone here has any fully belief, and I don't have any belief that the Cubs are going to get Juan Soto.
He's got no belief.
But the Cubs need a guy like Juan Soto. And if it ain't going to be Juan Soto, then you have to find a way to make it happen because
Santander,
we talked a ton. We talked a ton about the lack of star power on this team in that watch along. And that's why Luke is bringing up this Ohtani stuff. Not outside the fact that
it's just about that. Yeah,
it's history. So
yes. And Edward says the question should be, does Juan Soto want to play for the Cubs? And my response would be to that, if you throw $100 million out there or some creative deal that gives him super flexibility 3 years later, you gotta try. You have to find out by overpaying what everybody else would do. And I agree the Cubs won't do it, but I'm just telling you they should be doing it. Right?
At the same time, two things can be true. What Luke just said can be true. And also Soto's got to want a tango.
That's right.
With the Cubs as well. So
I'd give him the Zachary Hotel. That would be part of my deal.
You give him You remember how
in the hotel.
You remember how the Cubs were able to lure John Lester here over going back to Boston? Mm-hmm. Remember how the Cubs were able to lure Jason Hayward here, the number one positional player going into 2016? They all had their pitch. They all used the fact that they wanted to break the curse of this and that, whatever. That was then. But
the new lure is here's a hotel.
You still have no. It's not. It's still Wrigley Field is a beautiful place to play baseball at. Chicago is the greatest city in the world. And you have a fan base that every single night there's 30,000+ there. So there's plenty of reasons to sell Chicago on any free agent to come to the Cubs.
Here's another reason.
You have to one, be able to play, throw the money, and two, also the players got to be interested in your organization too. And I do think there are reasons for free agents at the top of the market to want to come to the Cubs. There are reasons.
Here's another reason. Some beers can say they're brewed for baseball, but only Blue Moon is brewed by baseball. Beer and baseball just go together. No beer goes better than the one that was literally born in a ballpark. Blue Moon, created at Coors Field in Denver. It's the natural choice all season long, but around here, we celebrate it with Summertime Shy. Give me a Blue Moon to cool off. It's September and we're still mid-80s. It's spectacular outside.
Hell yeah,
Nothing beats watching baseball or Bears football like celebrating it with an ice-cold Blue Moon in your hand. Blue Moon was brewed by baseball to give you a dose of nostalgia, get you excited for the whole season. A beer this good only comes around once in a Blue Moon, but you can enjoy it all year long. Bring the ballpark to you with Blue Moon Belgian-style wheat ale. It's one of a kind every time. Get Blue Moon delivered by visiting get.bluemoonbeer.com/CHGO to see your delivery options. That's get.bluemoonbeer.com/CHGO. Blue Moon, made brighter, celebrate responsibly. Blue Moon Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado.
That entire last segment, you could say I had my Shady Rays on because I had my rose-colored glasses on.
Yeah,
trying
Soto
to talk myself.
Glasses.
Yeah, my Soto-colored glasses, as one might say. But they are just Shady Rays. You couldn't see them. I didn't have them on technically, but in my heart I did. Okay. But during the summer, it's always good to have a pair of Shady Rays. All right, our friends at Shady Rays have you covered with premium polarized shades that won't break the bank. Luke. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company offering a world-class product rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Their shades have durable frames and crystal clear optics, making them the perfect choice for all outdoor adventures. They have hundreds of options to choose from, so you're bound to find the perfect pair to match your style. They probably have a style in your favorite team's colors. Use your own experience wearing Shady Rays. For me, at least, would be going to Wrigley Field and sitting in the bleachers all summer.
Ooh.
I had my Shady Rays on.
Vibes.
Right? So all I'm saying is that they're perfect outdoors, indoors in some ways, like I just explained. And they're cheap. And one of the biggest things is that if you lose them, they'll send you a new pair for free.
That's incredible.
Right. You know?
Lost and broken replacements.
So if you don't love your shades, exchange for a new pair or return worry-free within 30 days. There's no risk when you shop. Their team always has your back with personal and fast support exclusively. For our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Head to shadyrays.com and use code CHGO for 35% off. Polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people.
Very nice. Love my Shady Rays. Got a couple pairs. I like to wear them golfing, fishing, vibing, you know.
Yeah, that's why I wear mine too when I'm vibing.
I'd be vibing if we had Ohtani on this team, man. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
What a stud. Unbelievable. Anyways, yeah, we talked a lot in the live watch along about Ohtani and Soto and big spending and whether that's the right thing. We had a poll question. What's to blame for the Cubs' lack of success since 2017? Is it A, somebody in the chat asked, is it A, the lack of spending, or B, the way they have spent their money? And we all tried to take kind of the easy way out and said, yes, both. Both are to blame. Development has been to blame. There's lots of blame to go around. Could they spend more money? Yeah, they could. They still don't have a $200 million player on their team, and there's lots of teams that have those.
Mm-hmm. But through that poll that was put out that we had on the watch along, I wish I remember who sent it. Sarah, do you remember who sent the poll?
Oof.
I want to say his name was Ben.
Could be right.
It's probably in our Slack channel. Anyway, I'm trying to give the guy credit, but I think I said that it wasn't the lack of spending, but how they spent.
Yeah.
And it's because for the Cubs, an organization like the Cubs, it really doesn't matter. Like the Mets ownership, they spend money however they want. You know, the Rangers spent $500 million a few years ago, and it helped them win the World Series last year.
2 bad seasons, but a World Series.
Right. You know, I know the Mets last year were the highest team in payroll, and they didn't make the playoffs, whatever. But the thing is that a lot of fans just like kind of throw this aside. Like, I just don't I don't care about the ownership's money. To me, it shows that they want to win.
Yeah.
You know? And so we were on the watch along talking about it. It was kind of like, all right, the last time this organization played around at the top of the free agent market was the offseason going into 2016 when they signed Jason Hayward. In the offseason before that, they signed John Lester, who was probably the best pitching, free agent out there that offseason off the top of my memory.
And they did spend money to get Dansby, who we said they had to get one of the shortstops. They did.
They did. He was the fourth best one based off of, what everyone thought.
But they did get one of them. They did spend to get one.
And I think you can make the argument that he's been better than the other three. Maybe Trey Turner this year at least has for sure been better than him. But Trey Turner wasn't very good in year one. Dansby was a lot better than him in year one. And Dansby this year, somehow, some way, being so bad April through June, has the second highest WAR on this team, which is probably not necessarily that's not a compliment to the Cubs. It's definitely more of he still managed to put together a normal Dansby Swanson season. The home runs were down this year, and you can't be atrocious at the plate for 3 straight months. But that's all beside the point. The point that I'm getting at with what I was talking about, though, is that everyone to this day still talks about the Jason Hayward contract. The Jason Hayward contract, it helped them win the World Series. I personally don't think they win the World Series without Jason Hayward. His defense was spectacular. He won multiple Gold Gloves here. We've watched guys play right field at Wrigley Field these last 3-4 years, and we've seen chaos out there sometimes. Whether it was before Seiya has also had his own missteps out there. And he was advertised as like a Gold Glove winning outfielder in Japan. All right, Cody Bellinger is probably the best defensive outfielder they've had in right field since Jason Hayward left. And he's only been doing that since, the last month and a half? You know what I mean? So I think, if anything, over the last couple of years, I've realized, man, Hayward's defense was more valuable than maybe I wanted to give him credit for. But obviously his offense was subpar. It did not live up to not what they paid him for. It didn't live up to help them have consistent winning down the line, even after 2016. There's a lot of things. The point that I'm really getting to here is that because things never really worked out with him after 2016 and Bryce Harper was available, you could have cut ties. You're the Cubs. You could have absolutely cut ties. And we've seen other teams around the league do that. And so the point is that money should never be a problem with this organization. I understand that that's like me dreaming or whatever, but that's also the fact of the matter. Because, again, they're the Cubs, and money should never be a problem with this organization, with how much, with the attendance that they get, with how much they charge, and how much they've done to the neighborhood and the ballpark and all these things. And they're on Forbes every year. They're always ranked as a top 5 team in terms of value and everything. Money should never be the problem. The Mets, terrible last year, and they found a way to shred some payroll, and then they still are right here in the wild card race in what they're calling a down year, and they're going to load up, and they're going to try and get Juan Soto this offseason. The point is that the Cubs never want to fix the mistakes that they make. They just try to hope that things change. The Padres are another team that I feel like when things don't work out in terms of whether it's a trade or it's a free agent signing, in recent years at least, they've been being proactive and trying to fix them, whether it's spending somewhere here or trading this guy or that guy. That's something the Cubs haven't done in a long time, in my opinion. And so to me, it's not about how much, like whether they're spending enough or not spending enough. It's about how they've spent and how they let that like affect how they're going to act moving forward.
Here's where I'd say the answer could be both in one example. Okay? Both are true. Same offseason, correct? Was it not the Aaron Judge deal with Dansby? That was all the same offseason? I think it was. Judge re-signed with the Yankees, and all the shortstops were available. It was a crazy offseason, lots of money going around. Just for, don't let the facts get in the way of a good story. Let's just say it is. Judge signs for 10 years, $366 million. The Cubs sign Dansby for 7 for $177. So I put into my trusty calculator, what's the difference? 3 years, right? And it was like $180-some million. You tell me right now. So we're saying, wow, they can't give Soto $400. They can't give this guy $5 million. Remember, one guy's contract is shorter. You're just talking about $366 versus $177. For a $200 million difference, what difference would this team be right now if you had Aaron Judge in center field instead of Dansby at shortstop? Massive difference. That doesn't mean you don't know what PCA's role is. Maybe PCA is used to get something back, possibly your shortstop. I'm just saying, like, there's dominoes to everything that happens. But $177 million and $366 million. It's a difference, but not when you're talking about players like Aaron Judge or Soto or Ohtani. Like, you can't stop thinking, we can't lose to. You're a $1 billion team, multi-billion-dollar team. You can't be afraid of that. And that difference in like not even $200 million, I'm just like, it totally changes the way this franchise is this year. I'm not guaranteeing they're winning the World Series or whatever, but if you got a guy who's hitting almost 60 home runs in that lineup,
you have a chance.
You got a lot of stuff that's different.
Mm-hmm.
You've got a lot. Imagine a 60 homer guy in center field with 25 in left and 21 in the right. All of a sudden, you're not talking about where's the power going to come from, because, by the way, the guy with 21 and the guy with 25 are going to hit more because everybody's going to be terrified to pitch to the other guy. Those are the type of dominoes you set into motion when you think about, well, we could spend less. We don't give out 10-year contracts. We'll only give out 7. Yeah. The best players want the most money in the most years, and sometimes you got to give it to them.
Yeah. Michael says in the chat, money is a concern for every team, even the Yankees. After so long, you have to reset with luxury tax penalties. Mm-hmm. MLB has a salary cap. It's the luxury tax. Now I would say they need a floor. And while he is correct with that, there's also teams that don't care.
So the Cubs are in the luxury tax now.
Yeah, the Cubs are in the luxury tax, and where we're at, like, this is
what we got.
Yeah.
So if you're going to jump into the luxury tax, jump in with 2 feet.
That's what I'm saying too.
If you're going to start your window for where you can spend and like when the penalties are yada, 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 at least give yourself a chance. I don't know if they really gave themselves a chance.
And this is why I brought up the Hayward stuff and mixed it with Bryce Harper. It's like you were in the middle of your winning window.
Yeah.
You were in the middle of your winning window. You were in the prime of the best era of this organization's history. And you didn't sign Bryce Harper, and you signed Daniel Descalso instead and ran it back with the same team, and we saw what happened. And I know that's years ago and all that, but we haven't seen any real spending from this organization at the top of the free agent market since the Hayward contract. And I know they signed Yu Darvish and all that, but that's not at the top of the free agent market that year, in my opinion.
I know you have to spend right, but if I'm going to spend right and you're going to spend right, you know where we're going to do it?
That's it. CDJR.
Ray CDJR. Before you hit the road this fall, head to Ray Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram and start your adventure there. This September, shop new, lower prices across their huge inventory during Jeep Adventure Days going on right now. For a limited time, lease the new 2024 Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo for just $239 a month for 27 months. Or shop more than 125 vehicles that they have priced right now under $20,000. Let the amazing team at Ray CDJR help you during each step of your car shopping journey. And with Ray's Price Promise, the numbers you're hearing now are the same prices you can expect to shop in-store and online. That's because Ray's Price Promise means no price changing, no add-ons, and no hidden fees. Since they prioritize affordability for their customers, hurry into Ray CDJR today. Shop one of the Chicago area's largest inventories and drive home with more money in your pocket than you'd expect. If you're in the market for a new vehicle, then you got to check out the team at Ray Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram because they're the only team we recommend. Visit them today on Route 12 in Fox Lake. For more information, visit Ray CDJR in Fox Lake or raycdjr.com, serving the community since 1963. We mentioned we got the Friday 120 Club coming up tomorrow. All you have to do is buy your own bleacher ticket, meet at Murphy's, join everybody, walk over and go sit in the bleachers together, left field, because Cody only goes left field. You'll be by Bleacher Jeff. My Thai guy will be there, almost certainly, right? Cody will be front row with a sign. And then gather up more friends and get together and buy your tickets ahead of time now because you don't want it to sell out, which it might. The Bears watch party at Joe's on Weed Street coming up on Sunday. Bears, Colts, got to win, got to run the ball, got to get Caleb in a better place, right? All of those things. $65 will get you in a better place because from 11:30 to the end of the game, $65 covers your drinks. Pretty much everything. The list is on our website, but it includes beer. It includes a lot of top shelf stuff. Miller Lite's involved, seltzers, all of that stuff. And it's $10 general admission. If you're not if you don't drink, $10 will get you in. You can have a good time too.
Yeah,
Cody will be there.
I will be there. Can't wait.
It's my wife's birthday. I'm trying to talk her into it, but she's not a big football fan.
Sorry, I don't sound. I'm reading the chat. And
I'm distracted. Boy.
I'm distracted.
James says Colts for the win. We hope not.
Michael, I hear what you're saying in the chat here, man. But this team is missing a star. Who cares? This, I don't care about draft picks. I don't care about this and that. I want the Cubs to win. I want the Major League Cubs to win. Do I care about things internally? Yes, I have for the last 3 years. But we are at a point now where it's you gotta make this thing a winner, man.
Oh, and I disagree with no team should be able to sign a player for $700 million. Never would have happened with a cap. Disagree. Whatever a player's worth, a player is worth.
He's obviously living up to the $700 million.
Whatever
he became the first player to do 50-50.
Whatever a player's worth, a player is worth. Nobody's telling the billionaire owners they can't be worth go from $2 billion to then being worth $6 billion to then being worth $12 billion. Well, if we're not gonna cap in my opinion, if we're not gonna cap the owners at how much they can make, why should we cap the players on what they can make?
Yeah, that's fair. Michael says he's just trying to bring rational insights, and I feel.
I understand.
I don't even necessarily think that I'm being way over irrational. I know that no team was just going to cut ties with Jason Hayward after 2016. I would say that maybe after 2020, maybe. I don't know. Whatever. It didn't happen. It is what it is. All I'm saying is Jason Hayward should have never held the Cubs back from signing Bryce Harper.
I would agree.
At the very least. If anything, you could have moved on from Almora a lot quicker, and Happ has turned out to be a great Chicago Cub. But at the time, you could have traded Happ, and that would have you didn't have someone manning center field. You could have put Hayward in center field and put Harper in right field. I don't know, man.
I think one of the hardest things and by the way, if you're in the live YouTube chat and we disagree with you, that doesn't mean we don't like you.
No,
it's just we all have different opinions. They're all welcome. Anybody can cub or have the thoughts, whatever they want, unless you start getting personal with other people in the chat or angry or whatever.
Which unfortunately happens too much.
It happens occasionally, and then you just get kicked out of the chat. But
you get put in a timeout. Sarah will put you in a timeout.
And just because we don't read somebody's comment doesn't mean I didn't like it. I might not have seen it. It might not have gone with what we were talking about at the time. Just the way it is. Yeah. Everybody's welcome.
I like putting people in timeouts.
Sarah likes to put people in timeouts. So if you want to do that, give it a shot.
You got to learn your lesson.
It's just here's why I think Cody. This is what I'm going to say. This is one thing I think that frustrates Cubs fans beyond the not winning, beyond the not having the superstar, beyond all those things. They went from the golden era where not everybody was willing or ready to part, even though it was the right move, with Rizzo, Bryant, Baez, Wilson, everybody. Lester retires, right? Like Lester goes away, then retires. All of them basically were the right move except for letting Schwarber walk for nothing. The problem after winning 2016 was even the people that were saying it's the right move, you got to let Rizzo go, or you got to let Bryant go, or you got to let Baez go. They all assumed that when you let them go, the next generation of Cubs stars were right behind them. Mm-hmm. Whether that was signing somebody and you were going to, you know what I mean? It was like, well, Rizzo's not the guy, but don't worry. We're now in the golden era of Cubs baseball. Rizzo's going to be replaced with Paul Goldschmidt. Chris Bryant's going to be replaced with Arenado, whoever you want to put in there. And those players have not shown up.
No.
They're either not developed and not here yet, they weren't signed, or they're not coming. One of the three.
PCA is the only one who's shown up from that trade.
That's so far. So far, PCA is the guy.
And Caleb Killian, but,
But not, yes. Alcantara's not here yet. Killian really, no. It's PCA.
It's PCA.
Who is here? Ryan Herrera's back.
And I guess Nick Madrigal
was here.
Because of the Kimbrel trade.
That's right. He was here.
He was here.
Ryan
looks tired.
Ryan looks exhausted.
He looks like me after the Cubs lose. He looked like me yesterday. Wow.
So Ryan, what did they say? What did they say after this one? What was the headline?
The headline honestly came. The headline honestly came before the game. It was Craig Counsell being pretty candid about just where the team is at, especially because as yesterday the Cubs loss clinched the division for the Brewers on September 18th with both teams still. Well, I guess the Brewers had 11 games left to play. The Cubs had 10, and Craig Counsell was pretty candid about just where they're at, saying they have a lot of work to do. There's a big gap between them and the Brewers, and frankly the rest of the division and the Brewers. Talking about I think one of the quotes that
we haven't played the clip. Do we have it ready? We could just play it and then we can react to it.
Let's listen to it. Let's hear it real quick, Ryan.
Might as well.
This is from Ryan.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the message sent really is that, look, there's a big gap. They're ahead of us by a lot, and it's a talented team on and off the field. It's a talented team, but there's a big gap, and we got room to make up. There's no question about it. And so that makes it, frankly, that makes it daunting. They've been good, man. For the division. I'd say that about the other teams too, right? They've created a gap the last 2 years in the division. So, yeah, we got room to go, man. We got work to do for sure.
Creating a gap the last 2 years. Oh yeah, you're the guy with the first year. If you're just in those 2 years.
Well, he still
kind of created a gap in the last 4 years, if we're being honest. Maybe
the Cardinals were kind of part of that, but yeah.
But Ryan, he chose to come here. 40 million reasons, yes, no question about it. But he also came here because of the potential of He was sold on the prospects and what was still coming in this pipeline, and he was sold on you are obviously going to have deeper pockets than you ever could have had in Milwaukee. And if you do what you did in Milwaukee and we develop these prospects like we think you can, and we spend the money like the Brewers can't, we will own this division. Now it's 1 year in, and the storyline still hasn't changed. I'm curious which he thinks needs to change what he thinks needs to change the most.
Well, he didn't get into like anything specific
like
that when he talked. But I mean, he did say, and it's something that I know Corey and Brendan were talking about this back during the offseason. We've obviously talked about it as well when we do the show. Basically saying like I think his quote was, "We should try to be building 90-win teams here. That's what you have to do. That's the playoff standard." Like that's something we've talked about on the show. Like going back to January, February, like building a team that you look at and say this team can win 90 games and doesn't need a ton of luck to go their way to do it, right? Like this Cubs team was going to need a lot of things to go their way to win 90 games. They may end up with a record worse than what they had last year. I think they're right around maybe 83 wins, 83-win pace. So I think that's it's an indirect but direct message to like the whole organization that like one, they need to improve on all facets of it to close that gap with the Brewers, but also like maybe a little bit of a message to Jed Hoyer of like, hey, like we need to have a team on here that's if we want to beat or close that gap with the Brewers that has gotten pretty wide, especially this year, which I think the Brewers are up 10, 11 games right now. Again, clinched the division with a week and a half left in the season. If you want to close that gap, yeah, you gotta get a team together that, when you look at it, is this is a 90-win ball club. I think that was a pretty candid message from Counsell today, and it was not that surprising to hear, but it's not something that he was generally wanting to talk about while the Cubs were technically still in the race. Now that it's over, it felt like he was willing to be a little bit more candid about where they're at in terms of the division picture and where the Brewers are again leading the way by a large margin.
I'll say that it feels like the first time all year where you're actually getting a little emotion from him. Like you watch the video, and in my opinion, I feel like you're seeing or hearing a little bit of frustration, and and I know like after losses and wins, his face is a lot different, but like he always says the same thing after losses basically, and he says the same thing after wins. This is like he knows that there's things that got to change, man.
Yeah, it's not Lou Piniella, but you could tell he was angry and frustrated.
The funny thing is, like isn't really that much different after wins or losses. Like he's kind of the same person, which is why I was laughing. But no, you're right. Like this was one of those times where you could feel like a little tension in what he was saying. Not like tension in the room or whatever, but just like he was trying to send a message, like whether it's through us or just the kind of speaking his mind. Yeah, we need to be a better team. The team in front of us is in front of us by a lot. We need to be a better team and figure out a way to do that. I think that he made that pretty clear.
Oh, I posed this question in the watch along. Do you think that Craig Counsell is embarrassed because the Brewers ran away with this division and the Cubs are going home early?
And we only have a minute
embarrassed?
left.
I don't know if he's embarrassed.
I think he's angry. I think he's angry. Yeah, but he's
anger, frustrated.
Yeah.
I don't know. Embarrassed. I don't know if embarrassed is the adjective I'd use, but
the guy's got a legacy to try and hold up here. Like it's not like he had one good season in Milwaukee that earned him this contract. Like he helped build that organization and put them into a position of the best era of Brewers baseball, and then. Whether he was going to come to the Cubs or not, we all knew the Brewers weren't going to bring him back. We all thought he was going to the Mets, and then he didn't. All right, and he comes to the Cubs, the rival, and all of Wisconsin is pissed. They're defacing his park in his hometown.
They're
defacing his park in his hometown. Me, you, or me, Luke, and everyone in the chat laughing at all the Brewers fans, laughing at a very irrational level of angry that they were, even though they all knew that he wasn't coming back anyway. And like, just to put it bluntly, like, it's all just come back to make people like me and Luke look like a bunch of idiots. So it's like, I'm a little embarrassed for him. So am I wrong, Luke? Like,
I never look like an idiot. I do have to say, I want to tell everybody about the Die Hard program. That's critical. Die Hard program is going to get you what Ryan's going to write this article tonight about what Craig Counsell said, correct? Like, that's going to be a lot of what you're talking about in the article. Ryan sends out a newsletter. If you want to get that newsletter, that's exclusive for diehards. Diehards get the Die Hard card. You wrote it tonight?
Newsletter? I had one go out earlier today.
That's right. The newsletter just came out. Get you in the Discord where you can hang out and talk anytime you want with other Cubs fans or other Bears fans or other Blackhawks or Bulls or White Sox fans. You can go find your group and you can talk to them there. But it also gives you discounts, right? Like, we have the watch party, the Bears coming up. You can get 20% off that if you're a diehard. You do get 20% off that if you're a diehard. You want to get the dope merch like Cody's sweatshirt or my Blackhawks t-shirt or all of the new merch that for Cole Kmet's new podcast that all just came out this week. That's all 20% off all the time, all year long. So the Die Hard membership is like one of those deals. First of all, it's a great birthday gift. It's a great holiday gift because you get to use it all year round. But in general, again, the key for me is the Die Hard card. Because when you walk into Joe's on Weed Street on Sunday, you don't have to show an ID. You show them the Die Hard card. It's bigger than that. It's bigger than anything you could possibly show them. You just hold that card up, Die Hard. They might still want to see your ID, but it's still important that you show them the Die Hard card because it's respect. It's respect on a piece of plastic right there.
Craig Counsell should get one.
You know, maybe we should get him one. we maybe should get him a Die Hard card. Listen, we're still diehards, Craig. We still believe. I understand what Cody's saying, by the way, about Counsell in that, listen.
I hate posing the question, but it's all over
like
the
I
internet.
said, I just said I don't think Counsell, like, I wouldn't use embarrassed as the way to describe it. I do think there's frustration. Because that was absolutely frustration that you came over here and weren't able to get to the postseason. Like,
the only way I could, he would never come out and say embarrassed. But I guarantee it sticks him in the side a little bit that all the people that were calling him a money chaser in his hometown, and he admitted, like, he didn't expect the reaction to be what it was. Just to go to the Cubs and take the money because he was gone anyways. But it was the fact that he went to the Cubs that really made some Brewers fans and people in Wisconsin mad. And frankly, what's happened this season, part of which he's contributed to potentially, if you want to put blame on people, it hasn't made him look great.
No.
And I will give you that, Cody. It hasn't. Nobody wants to look bad. And at the end of the year, he doesn't look great.
No.
And I'm not saying he's not a bad manager. I think he's a way better manager than David Ross. But if you're going to win the same or less or one game more than last year, and you signed a $40 million contract, I guarantee the people in Wisconsin that were poking fun at you or mad at you are very satisfied with the way this season has gone down. So that would lead to, as Ryan said, frustration, and maybe just a tinge when he goes to bed of embarrassment. Like, I don't know if embarrassment's the right word, but frustration definitely is one. And I don't doubt that a hint of embarrassment could be mixed into that.
I could
when
say
you look bad,
Cubs
there's always a little bit of embarrassment.
I could say the Cubs as a whole should feel some embarrassment for it, for not taking the next step forward and getting to the postseason and being out of it pretty much. I mean, they've been pretty much out of it for a little while now, but, like, I think was the magic number down to, like, 2 or something like that? They could be eliminated from postseason contention about a week before the season ends. Like, that's pretty embarrassing. As the organization as a whole, I think that's fair to say.
Highest paid team, highest paid manager
in the division. Yep.
Not even close, and you weren't, as I said yesterday, you weren't in the division race for almost the entire season.
No.
More than half of the season, it wasn't even a question who was going to win the division.
Like mid-May is when the Brewers odds started going up and the Cubs went way down.
In some ways I feel bad for the guy because I personally don't think it's his fault. As we're sitting here and we're saying this, and that's why I feel like he might feel embarrassed, because on the outside it just looks like he just made a dumb decision. But he's on probably outside the top 10 of reasons of what I blame about what went wrong this season. That's how I feel. And he could easily, if things don't get turned around next year, it's like, listen, $40 million is $40 million, but if things aren't going the way that he was sold, I wouldn't be surprised if not next year, maybe the year after, he's like, I'm out of here. That's very irrational for me to think and jump ahead to. I understand that. But, $40 million is $40 million. I understand that. But
Cody, you've never been accused of being a rational person.
I'm just saying that, he was a big part in the decision-making in Milwaukee. Yeah. And if things are not going to go the way that not only that he was sold on, but also if he's not as big of a part of the decision-making going forward now, which I don't know, maybe he is, then I could see some tension happening.
All right.
I believe he will be. I'll say that. I believe that, as far as coaching staff, obviously he got a really late start on that with the coaching staff during the offseason. Maybe you see some changes, maybe you don't. But I think if he wants to make some changes, that will be up to him. As far as personnel, player decisions, I do think he'll be involved in that. Obviously they have scouts and directors of scouting and all this stuff that do a lot more of the advanced looks at other guys, but I do think Counsell at least plays a consultant type role of this team now. You've had this team for a year. You know what's hurting the team. You know what's a strength. I think he at least plays a part in that. Maybe not specifically go get this player, but I think that his knowledge of the team now a year in and who he's got on the roster, I believe the front office values that and certainly will kind of use that in what they do.
All right, Ryan will have an article coming out for you tomorrow. Friday 120 Club meets at 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock.
Or sometime slightly after that at Murphy's.
Yeah.
What time do we usually go into the bleachers?
An hour before.
An hour before the game? No, probably no rush tomorrow.
Probably no rush tomorrow. I hope to see some faces out there because there is no reason to go watch the team. But there's no better time for venting and talking about the offseason because we did it for 4 hours tonight, basically.
Over 4+ hours, almost 4.5 hours we've been on this YouTube channel.
Sarah is so tired of listening to us talk about this team.
Thanks to everybody that joined us. We appreciate it. Look for Ryan's stuff tomorrow, and hope to see you on Sunday at the watch party for the Bears. Thanks to everybody. Until next time, fly the W.
We all silly like the mayor.